So we'll get your volume here. There you go. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
tap.
a
Hello.
little bit better. Hey, you've got this part of the video. Well, maybe a smidge.
Maybe a smidge.
Maybe not. No, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
not too bad.
That's hot.
I'm getting a little like distortion.
Yeah, I hear
it.
It's
okay. Oh, good. You hear it on your end. If you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night, 27th of August, 2020. We're just getting Dave in. If that's the very first time, just hang tight. We're in pre-show. We're just hang tight.
I've been here like 30 minutes ago, and
you've been
outside,
you're putting rain. You're putting stuff on the lawn, man. That's super important.
Is this okay?
A little louder, maybe.
Yeah. Every time I touch this XLR, it freaks out. As you heard. I know. I'm just tapping it. Okay.
Yeah, right there.
And then I'm going to move the mic just a little away, and we're going to
not too far.
We're going to podcast.
Yeah. No, right on. Good stuff. Good stuff. Jim Shoemaker is reminding us we're 4 minutes late. Sorry, Jim. Apologize for that.
All on me. Look, I've got the ball cap redneck.
I like it. I like
photographer. I turn my hat backwards when I shoot football games. So,
can I show the picture
from the other day?
Oh my God! Don't show that picture.
Can I show it?
I was on my second backpack. Yeah, you can show it.
Okay, hold on.
It was awful, and I felt my pocket buzz. I'm like, that's got to be Jim. And I pulled out the phone for now. Podcast later.
Okay, here we go. Let's get the screen share going. Yeah, I wasn't too worried about it, but that's the picture I got.
Look, a podcaster fertilizing his yard in a Microsoft t-shirt.
You look like 20 years old there. I think it's the hair.
Right.
You look so young.
That's my pool house behind me. You can see all my chemicals on the ground on the sidewalk back there.
Yeah. And you got a backpack spreader? Is that kind of what you're?
Yes. This is not the most efficient thing in the world because I just did 13,000 square feet in my backpack. So I do 4-gallon loads. And it's not really a fur. It's called, if you look it up on the internet, it's called a double dark.
Okay.
So it's a huge shot of iron. It's a huge shot of humic and a little bit of sea kelp and stuff like that.
All kinds of good stuff. I still don't see any show notes. I don't know where to go with you tonight.
Okay.
And that's okay.
No, I haven't.
That's okay. But I figured you got some good notes that we can follow.
That would make Alan Hain blush.
Just drop them underneath the Windows 95 thing, and we can.
I didn't get the show notes this week, Jim. I don't think.
Oh, I sent them to you.
Yep.
You want them? You want the? You want to send?
Okay, they're right here.
There you go. Yeah, I sent them today. I think it was
yesterday.
It's funny how fast the week goes now. So like it used to just drag, early pandemic. It was like Tuesday felt like Friday and it was like, oh my God, this is just like, this week is taking forever. We're kind of back to, at least I'm back to like Wednesdays are like, holy crap. I got to get ready. I got to get ready for Home Gadget Geeks tomorrow. What are we doing? And I think last week it was a 7 podcast week for me.
Wow.
With the Gallup stuff and then Home Gadget Geeks and then Ask the Podcast Coach. So it was three of them technically were just live, like a live webcasts. We won't turn them into podcasts, but still takes the same amount of time, same amount of production time to get them all set up. So,
well, I was like me this week. I had a bunch of projects. I'm like, I'll get that done by the end of the week. And today I'm like, crap, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is the end of the week. And I was like, man, this week flew by.
I have a company-wide we're doing an internal kind of version of one of our podcasts. We won't broadcast it. It'll just be to Gallup people. And they wanted me to make, or I volunteered to help make a video for it. I was like, oh, this would be really cool if we did this, and this is like 3 weeks ago. We did this, and this. And today they were like, oh, hey, I guess we're supposed to do those things. And I'm like, yeah, I needed those like 2 weeks ago to make the video. So I have a feeling I'm going to be interviewing people on Monday, doing video cuts on Tuesday for the event on Wednesday. So it'll probably be crazy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Today is the 180th day of March, other Jim says.
Yeah. I kind of stopped. For the longest time, I was keeping track of the weeks, the pandemic weeks, week 16, week 20. I think I made it to week 21, and then I just kind of stopped.
Okay, so I use the average guy. I'm at the live, so I can see the chat.
Yeah. You got quiet again.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, do I need to eat the mic again?
That's okay. That's better.
You know what that tells me?
What?
I need new gear.
You do. Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna touch this XLR. See?
Okay. Yeah.
It's like what? It's like one extreme or the other.
It's in between.
If I move,
you're fine right there.
Yeah, you're fine right there.
You're fine right there.
Okay. Just holler at me in the middle of the podcast, and we can put some white space in while if I have to tap it.
I'll phonical fix you if you get quiet on us.
If I get too,
yeah. No worries, man. It's just a podcast.
Okay. You know what? I wrote these notes and I haven't gone back over them, but what I was gonna do with you is just the typical fall. There's like two paths. There's the pre-emergent path, or there's the overseed path. So I figure we'll just take both of those, and if neither of you have done one of those paths, you can just beat me up, and we'll go from there.
I have done zero of
that.
So it'll all be good education for me.
There'll be good questions then that you know, because when you've done it, you don't.
Right.
You skip over some things, right?
You missed, in the summer, I'm a Scott's guy. So I do the Scott's 4-step plan, and it's actually, this is my 3rd or 4th year. And but the crazy thing, it's actually working. Like I have 0 weeds right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I always kind of think, oh, this stuff, it's just good enough. And I went out the other day, and I need to spray for crabgrass in some of the some of the areas where I don't get the drop spreader.
Crabgrass.
I do have a little crabgrass this year, but it used to be a lot worse. I have the crabs.
There's your sign, Jim. Okay,
I have crabs. No. Anyways, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on the show.
Okay, save it for the show.
Yeah,
save it for the show. Okay, you put your socks on. Let me open this thing up, and let's do this. I'll open this thing up, and then we'll talk a little bit about the weather, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. 27. All right, here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 457, recorded on August 27th, 2020. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here. Super hot, Mike. I can't keep enough water on my lawn. Like I just can't water it enough.
You took the words right out of my mouth. We've had a string of just high 90s for a long period of time and no rain. I mean, it's been gorgeous. If you have a pool and if you hadn't gone back to school yet, like I'm sure kids were loving it because it's that perfect, just sit by the pool weather. And but I was gonna say the same exact thing. If there's in areas of my yard where there's no shade, it's browned up because I cannot keep enough water on my lawn right now.
Now I do know a guy who does have a pool and is in the right spot. Dave McCabe's with us today. Dave, how is the pool?
Hi guys. Tell me, I'm having some mic trouble tonight, so everybody I'll get it figured out.
Yeah, no worries.
My pool is actually really good, and it's been crazy. If you haven't had trouble this summer with your lawn, then you are a miracle worker.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had a rough one. I mean, I can give you guys a lowdown whenever you're ready. But
we'll talk about it.
For someone who is so into this stuff, I have had such a hard year.
Yeah, I can't keep enough water early in the spring and maybe even early summer. I felt like a champion. I was getting out every other day, measuring all the stuff we talked about in the spring show. Like I was applying it. It was working great. The lawn was green. In the front, my front lawn, which is oyster grass, and it's usually pretty drought tolerant, does pretty well. It's kind of designed for the hot weather. I've been watering and watering and watering. It's just been so hot and no moisture that it's having trouble keeping up. So we'll talk more about that. Of course, we'll have some great show notes that we'll post out at theaverageguy.tv. You can go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG457 for this show and get access to all the show notes. Don't forget, you can download the mobile app, homegadgetgeeks.com, Android and iPhone, available there for you for free. Just download. It's the best way to listen on the road or whatever, whenever you need to stream it. It's an easy way to get it done. Just have it on your phone as a backup. Just have it there. Even if you don't use it, it doesn't cost me anything. It does cost me something. We appreciate our Patreon subscribers who help us pay for that each and every year, homegadgetgeeks.com. Big thanks to Ryan and Bob from thinkcomputers.org. They hung out with us last week. We kind of got old school on builds, and we talked about cooling in particular, which is a subject we've never really drilled down on it. And it was good for me to kind of catch up on where cooling has gone, and with liquid cooling, I think really just being an option now. The days when I looked at it, it was kind of awful. It's gotten a lot easier. I think you can just do it, right? You've got a liquid cooler, right?
Yeah, the AIOs make it so simple. Yeah. Right. Not have to do your own custom loop, just doing an AIO, and I agree. Much easier now.
So big thanks to Ryan and Bob who joined us from Think Computers next week, next week, all ham show. So Mike's done some new ham radio stuff over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to dive into what he's doing. He admitted to me he was doing some soldering today, and it wasn't going well.
First time trying out solder, not a good idea to. Yeah. Oh man, it just takes some time, I think, to practice. So I was doing it on just some wires. I had never soldered in my entire life. Have a soldering gun, which I found is, I think, a lot harder to be accurate with than an iron. But yeah, I'll talk about that next week. My adventures with a soldering gun and getting into that.
Definitely get the iron.
You've done some soldering in your day, right? I mean,
I am formally trained at the School of Top Gun from the U.S. Navy to solder on F-14s. Now, if anyone has an F-14, you just bring it to me. I'll solder it back together.
Very practical skill.
Oh, good old Navy days. Have you done much soldering post Navy?
I have a huge bag. Now, I used to work under a microscope, right? I would put stuff together and fix boards, and I would sit at my desk, and I remember we were out in the Persian Gulf, Desert Storm, and someone burned a hole through a board, and you're like, we got to fly. We need to fix this board, today, McCabe. So you relay the epoxy over it, you relay the solder runs, you drop the eyelets, you drop the circuits in. Wow. And you hand over this masterpiece of a circuit board, and you're like, this is 2 days of my entire life. Take care of it. And then 30 minutes later, you'll get another work order. It's the same board with a big hole burnt right through it. And you're like, So that's the military.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you done did you have to do any work like that post Navy? Have you done anything on computers that way? Have you soldered anything?
Not big jobs. I still love to do it. I love to pull things off and fix things and make my own, do breadboard, kind of projects and repairs, but nothing like I used to. I used to have this huge station with vacuum solder, and, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is nowhere near that level. This is putting together just ham radio antennas and soldering P259 connectors to cables and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than the cat shot than an F-14 takes. So
very different.
At home, there's just one quote, bigger the blob, better the job. So just solder it up, man. Just solder it up.
I keep hearing about cold solder joints and all the stuff that it's going to take some time. It's going to take some Googling.
Yeah, just reflow it. Just flux it. Jab.
I would do that if I knew what that meant.
Reflow it and pull it off. It'll work.
All right. A lot of fun. New skills.
For those who are maybe you're new to Home Gadget Geeks, or you've just joined us in the last couple of years. Of course, Dave, longtime podcaster that I had the opportunity. My very first podcast was with Dave back on Home Server Show. Dave, August 24th, which was just a couple days ago, 1995, was the Windows 95 launch. And 25 years ago. And not that we were podcasting then,
well,
but
let me tell you a significant story for that, because I went to Best Buy that very day for the launch because I was going to buy it, and I did buy it, and they were having specials, and I bought what little did I know would change my entire life on that one day. Was called a Diamond Rio. And it was an MP3 player that probably held 2 songs. And I used that Diamond Rio for years and years and years and years. And then when podcasting came around, I was trying every software package I could find to get podcasts onto that player so I could listen while I mowed and did things. And I eventually bought bigger and better things, but that was my first MP3 player, was the Windows 95 launch. And it was like this special. You bought the Windows 95 and they gave me this Diamond Rio. I don't know why, but they did.
Well, and good that they did that. Really, I mean, those days from then until early 2000, right? That was kind of the early era of it. I remember maybe 2001, a buddy of mine bringing in an iRiver and saying, I can get like 35 songs on MP3. I mean, I remember in 97, a buddy of mine saying, I'm ripping MP3s at my house. I worked at a computer store in 97. And a guy saying, I'm ripping MP3s. It's going to take all day, but they'll be there when I get home, and it was like he was ripping them, there. And those were some significant times. We don't even think twice now. In fact, we think about enhanced audio and some of those kinds of things, lossless in that. But those were the days, right? Getting things started.
Yeah. I was 4 years old when Windows 95 came out.
Well, it's we're a little older than you, but Dave, I kind of think about that April. I think it was April day about 12 years ago when you said yes to allowing me to be on Home Service Show, and I think you had Chris and John and me all on the same night. Yeah. And no, I don't think we broadcasted live in those days. I think it was just recording.
Just recorded it.
Yeah, and I think around show 40 or something like that.
2008.
And that's about 12 years ago, I think. Now that 11, 12 years ago. Coming up December 3rd is the 10th anniversary of Home Gadget Geeks, which started as Home Tech, and so we'll be celebrating. We'll have a big show that December 3rd. It'll be kind of fun. But I always hark back to the day I contacted you and said, hey, if you're ever interested in having a guest, I'd love to be on the show.
I know you were my crazy fan that emailed me and said, Dave, I've listened to every single show on a cross-country trip with my family.
I did.
And I just really emailed you back and said, can I have the address of your wife? Because I want to apologize to her.
So yeah, no, I did.
I had you on and Chris and Zadler, and I thought, one of these guys has got to be good enough to podcast with me, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I love all 3 of these guys. We're just going to have this big, fun podcast. All 4 of us will do it.
We had the best time, Dave.
So I have an assumption from back then, because you said you used to just record, and then you moved to going live. When I started my podcast, and this was a lot later, after podcasts were already relatively big, I've always assumed that people only started doing live podcasts because of Leo Laporte and the Twit network and what they were doing over there, and the fact that they were live streaming. Because when I used to listen to his podcast just because I found it through iTunes, and then I realized that they broadcast live, they're doing video. I mean, were they really the first kind of pioneers of a big podcast doing live streaming? I've always assumed that, but I guess I never, I don't know my podcast history of, were there people doing live streaming before Twit?
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
Okay. Because they were my inspiration to do things live. I loved that format. I thought that was so cool. They had a chat room. People were able to interact with them. So that was my inspiration for, if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm just going to do it live. Mm-hmm. But obviously, like I said, I joined after live was already a thing for podcasters who started just recording. And then they switched over at some point.
There were some Silicon Valley startups like Cranky Geeks. That was John C. Dvorak, his early work.
Yeah, and who's the other, the guy, the Podfather? I can't even think of his name.
Adam Curry.
Yeah, so I would probably say maybe he did. But, honestly, what changed our lives was Google.
Yeah.
When Hangouts became a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
We all Jim and I were on the forefront when Hangouts had their live invitation for YouTubers. I got an invite, and I remember Jim was mad at me because he didn't get one, and I was like, "Let's just try it tonight. We'll go live," and because everybody was asking us to, right?
Yeah,
well,
I think
it was so much work before that, right? I mean, you had to get Skype and record all different ways. I mean, it was difficult to do it before Hangouts. I remember doing a few of them before that, and like with Skype, it's you use call recorder and good luck doing it live.
Yeah, we did live audio on Ustream before the video. We did that.
It's true,
and for almost a year, I think.
Ustream, and then we did a livestream.com.
Justin.tv was big back then.
Yeah, we never did Justin, but then Google came along, and I remember that day I called Dave. We talked, and it launched on Tuesday.
The video
we were on it we were on it Wednesday. I was figuring it out at work, and I'm like, we can do this. And so we that Wednesday night, I think, because we recorded Wednesday nights in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why Home Gadget Geeks, I think, is on Thursday.
Yes, exactly.
Because we did Home Service Show on Wednesday.
Right.
And I remember having that and just thinking, and man, we did not move away from Hangouts forever. I mean, I took it nearly down to the end of it, the end of life with it. We used it a ton. It really changed for us. It really changed a lot of the way we interacted with our audience. And I think of the folks out there, like Jim Shoemaker, who would come to the meetups, be a part of those groups, Tony Rayner, Kevin Schoonover, those folks who would be a part of all those times and just kind of part of our community. And it continues on today. They listen to Reset. I'm sure you still hear, Dave. I'm sure you still hear from some of those folks, right, on Reset?
Oh, yes, I have a podcast. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
I do have a podcast, and I've taken the summer off. I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of took the summer off.
It's okay. We're gonna dive in to some work here, but it sure is great. I mean, I think about the 10 years coming up for Home Gadget Geeks. I think about the 12 years that I've been hanging out, 12 or 13 years I've been hanging out with you, Dave. Windows 95 anniversary, and it's just great. I mean, those are some very fond memories for me, and in a very important 20 years of my life that have been all around tech. So thanks for sharing it with me. I appreciate it. Well, we want to talk lawns. I'm going to get a comment in YouTube from somebody that says, it took you 25 minutes to get to the point. Dave, I just got one of those like 2 weeks ago. Somebody
again?
Took you 5 minutes to get to the point. It's like, well,
yeah,
sorry.
Big congratulatory back slappers.
So great.
Show episode 100.
Exactly. We're in part 3 of a 3-part series that we're kind of doing on lawn care. We spent some time in the spring talking about kind of what to do to get ready. Dave, we had you scheduled for the summer. You couldn't make it, a little bit of an emergency, and so we filled in for you, talked about summer. The goal today, and I think kind of the important part, is to think about fall, because there's a lot of things if you can set up now, you'll have such a easier time in the spring.
Absolutely.
And so I think fall is the key. A lot of people think it's spring, but I think fall is really, really, really key going forward.
But before you get to fall, I think, so I have a suggestion. I want to run it by the master here and see if it's a decent idea. So this is more of a recovery from a really hard summer. We talked about it earlier that, if you've survived this summer, you're a magician. So my lawn is weed-free, crabgrass-free. The grass, like where it's not brown, it's healthy, luscious, gorgeous, right? But if there's areas of my lawn that don't have shade right now, they're turning brown. So my idea, and I haven't done this yet, but my idea is, so when the sprinkler guy came out to adjust my sprinklers, I think he was looking for even spread across the entire yard, right? Here is we're making sure everywhere is getting covered. Right now, I think is a good time to go out and take pictures of all the brown spots in your yard, because then those places that need more water. And the places, because I have areas that are super green, right? I have the areas that are growing up really tall and some areas where they aren't growing a lot. And those areas don't need as much. So I don't think I need even spread of water. I need more concentrated water in certain areas. So I'm wondering if I take pictures now, because this is so hard to do in the spring, because you don't know really the areas of your lawn that are going to really need that water that don't get enough shade. So I'm wondering, to kind of plan for this, going out, taking pictures, and then Is it smart to adjust your sprinklers to maybe not do quite even spread, but more targeted? These areas I know need more water, or will that just screw me up? And then next summer I'll have the opposite spots being brown.
You know what? I would say don't overthink this.
I think I am. I'm already overthinking it because it's killing me having all this brown in my yard.
Watering just fine.
Okay.
It just means that grass under the shade is it's not letting off the water that grass over there in the pure sun is. And so if you don't have weeds and your grass is dormant, you are in fantastic shape. You're going to have a great fall plan. And we are going to see to it on this very show that you have a successful spring going into the fall.
Okay. So, well, you talked me off the ledge. So there's hope. It's not all bad if your lawn's looking a little brown right now. Not terrible. Good to know. Okay. So now I'm ready then for the fall stuff because I need some motivation here.
Yes, you are. And what I would say is it's always a good time to go out and see if your sprinklers are operating correctly.
Right.
If you don't have an automated sprinkler, I stand in the middle of my yard getting sprinkled all the time, just checking zones, making sure things are running fine. And just like you said, it's a good way it's more for when you have green grass and you're having a heat stretch, you can look inside that green grass for little patches of dryness and you can see it. It's all over my yard. There are certain spots that don't get water. And I go out with a clipboard and I circle them. And it's been the same 2 years in a row. And I can look standing in my yard and think, man, if this head was over like 3 feet, I would be good to go. So it's a good thing to just do that. Now, if your lawn is dormant, your lawn is dormant. It's not because you weren't watering. It's just, it was hot and it was humid and the grass checks out, but you still have to water. The crown of the grass, which is right near the ground, is still alive. That needs to be healthy. That still needs to be watered. So we always say, don't stop watering in the summer. Keep watering. But if your grass goes dormant, just embrace it. It's fine. Yeah. It will come back. And it was a very difficult summer. I mean, it was very difficult. Now, I brought you guys something. Since we're talking sprinklers, we're just going to go for it right now. And this is a sprinkler head filter. So if you pop off your sprinkler head, it just maybe even a small nozzle, not every sprinkler head has it, and it drops down in just like so. And you can see mine right here, very dirty, caked up with sediment. So that's something you can do is just go head to head and twist off the top. Just YouTube it. If you have Hunter nozzles or you have Rainbird nozzles, or there's a couple other brands, house brands for Lowe's and Home Depot, just Google it and you'll find how to take the heads off. And you can check these little filters. And you can buy these. You can buy a bag of these at the store.
Dave, I think sprinkler heads are something that people don't think. Like growing up, we had an irrigation system. I grew up in California. We had an irrigation system. My dad never used it, and it certainly wasn't on a schedule. Like it was, you had to go out and turn it on, right? And he just didn't. He just didn't. And in those days, you kind of put your sprinklers in, you kind of set it and forget it. They really just came on. Now I think I watch these guys on YouTube, and sprinklers get pretty sophisticated. Like, I mean, you got different patterns. You can put different heads in there, like you're talking about. Right. You can have a filter. So it made good. I think a guy like Tony Rayner, who just got his kind of irrigation system up and running, and had been broken. I think it's worth it to kind of dig in, figure out, okay, what kind of heads do I have? What do they do? What are my options? What are the parts for them? And especially going into the fall, you talked about maybe areas going dormant. Mike, I don't think it's a bad idea. Dave, you said this as well. Take a few notes where things didn't go really well on your lawn.
Right.
And fall is a good time to start thinking about your plan for the spring. Like, okay, what am I going to do? What can I do now? What kind of things can I change? Could I move ahead? Could I change some things around? Could I put a different head in there? You might have a half or a 180 and you need a more concentrator, or you need to shoot it farther, or some of those kinds of things. So getting to know those parts, Dave, I think is really key. Know what you have, know what's available to you, right?
I didn't even know there was a filter.
Yeah,
I'll just say that I had no idea sprinkler heads had filters in them. I've never taken them apart.
Yeah, some of the biggest things is like on a Rainbird rotator head, there's also a nozzle and it has a flow rate, and it's a different color code for flow rate. It could be a 2 gallon or a 3 gallon or a 4 gallon, sometimes even a 1 gallon flow. And that will change how much water is getting on your yard, per hour. So you really should know that. And, just like we talked in the spring, and by the way, you guys did a fantastic job on the summer show. Spring and here in the fall, the two things that we're going to do right is we're going to water and we're going to mow. It doesn't stop. So we're still going to have to do those things right. And one of the things that, Mike, we're going to just start with you right now is you need to go out and be a weatherman. We're going to be a weatherman right now. We're going to look at 30 days into the future, and we're going to see when those temperatures start to drop. Because when those temperatures do start to drop, your grass is going to just be like, hey, it's time to go. And you want to make sure that grass has been watered and has a decent shot of fertilizer when it wakes up, and it's going to go gangbusters again. We want to make sure that we give it a drink and we feed it, and it will take off when your temperatures start dropping.
Oh, when you said they're going to go, I thought you meant it's time to go quiet for the winter. No, they're going to pick back up again.
You're going to have
the entire fall.
Gorgeous lawn one more time before winter.
Okay.
Because you guys are a cool season. We're almost the same. What do you call this one? Latitude? Longitude?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Longitude.
I don't know if I did really well in that class. Here's your weather.
Yeah.
We're looking for low humidity as well, but look at these 70s and these nighttime temperatures. Look at your nighttime temperatures, guys.
Yeah, 50s, which are great for the cool season grasses, right? That's going to trigger those. Dave, let me just say too, before we dig into this, I think it's important if you're coming to this podcast and you're thinking like, okay, I ignored the spring and the summer one because I'm not in the lawns, but now I want a better lawn next year. I think the first step is to know what kind of lawn do you have, right? Is it we say cool season, or like I have Zoyce out front, which is a Bermuda type grass. It's kind of designed for really hot weather. It goes dormant in the winter. Back is fescues and Kentucky bluegrass, which are cool season grasses, right? They act very different. I actually have to treat them very, very different. Full sun out front, shade in the back. It works perfect for my environment here. Okay. I'll show both lawns here in a little bit. But okay, so knowing that, I think, folks, don't you think it's good to kind of, like you talked about in the spring show, of getting maybe like let's figure out what you've got going into the fall.
Mike got us on sprinklers, which gets me excited because I really love my sprinklers. But
I derailed us.
Let's not forget that there's a couple of requirements for this show, and I really think you should go back and listen to the spring show, and that will explain a lot of things. But remember, I'm not a pro. I just kind of do this because I got shafted by some pros, and I like to do it myself. A couple of things we want to know is we want to know what zone we're in. And Jim, that's crazy. You've got a warm season grass in the front and a cool season grass in the back. And that would drive me absolutely
Oh, no, it's
batty.
great. It's great for me.
It would kill me.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It works, and you can do it. But make sure you know what zone you're in. Just search on Google, zone hardiness zone, and you will figure it out. Next, you need to know what grass type you have. And I got an app for us the other day, and I haven't been able to make it work. And because I know you always ask me what are some apps that you can apply to this, and it's called Canopio, Canopeo. You're supposed to be able to take a picture, point it at your lawn. It's supposed to tell you what grass type you have. Canopeo. Someone needs to figure it out and let me know if it works.
Say that one more time. I'm searching
tap your
right now.
Dave. Tap your thing for me. No, it's okay. It's just getting a little quiet. Let's see if we get a little.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So Canopio. It's the weirdest name.
Yeah, it is a weird name.
So Canopeo.
This is great because we were just talking. Oh man, I lost my video again.
I got distracted.
I got distracted.
You got distracted.
And there goes my video.
So keep going, Dave.
Okay, so we want to know what zone we're in. We want to know what grass type we have. And for the fall, something huge is we need to know when to expect our first frost. Because our first frost is going to tell us when we're going to basically slow down and stop almost. We will work back from that first frost. So generally about 40 to 45 days of work time prior to our first frost. So we need to know that in the fall as well. And that will set us up for gangbuster spring one more time.
We were talking about the weather, so I interrupted you in the middle of that as we were thinking about, Dave, you were kind of give us, this is Omaha or Bellevue. I'm not that far from Mike. We have been in a heat wave. It looks like we're coming out of it, and we're seeing some nightly temps of 75, some morning temps of 50, which for cool season is dynamite. Why is that? I mean, so Mike has admitted he's got some damage. He's going into the fall. He hasn't really paid attention because he's been on vacation every other week.
Deflated. I'm just
so Dave, seeing this, knowing what's coming up, and our first frost hard to predict here in Nebraska, really hard to predict. But we'll say maybe late October probably is when we'll experience those. But
that's a good one.
What would you say?
So I put a YouTube link in the chat for a video, and it is a video about the average first frost per zone in the 49 states. It just lets you know when your average first frost is going to be, and you can take that average, and then you can look up averages for your area, in past years, and you can work from that as well. And the other thing that I like to do is I like to know what my soil temperature is. And I would be really interested to see what your soil temperature is. So if you have just a thermometer that you stick in a pork chop to make sure it's 165 degrees, sneak it out when your wife's not at home and go stab it in the lawn. It will tell you that you guys are probably, if you're having those cool of a nights, you're probably around 72, 73, 74 degrees right now. And I did mine last week and I was about 74. So I'm thinking maybe you're a little lower because we've had, some 90s and a lot of humidity. So we might be a little warmer than you. The reason you want to know that as well is because when the soil temperature gets down to 70 degrees, those dormant weed seeds in the soil decide to wake up. So, Mike, if you don't have weeds now, you're going to in about 2 weeks because those weeds are going to wake up. So I was talking with you guys earlier, is fall gives us 2 pathways. And if you had a rough summer, perhaps like me, one part of my yard looks great. The other part, I had a little bit of I had a dollar spot fungus problem. So when you have a fungus problem, grass dies. So if you have a turf type tall fescue or any type of fescue lawn, that grass will not regenerate itself. That dead spot is there forever, forever, unless you have something like a bluegrass or a Kentucky bluegrass that will heal itself and grow into those new areas. You literally have to put seed. And that's why when you go to Lowe's and Home Depot, they have that jug called the Patch Master or something, and you sprinkle it, and it has seeds and it has insulation, and you sprinkle it on the dirt. Well, you scratch the dirt, you sprinkle it on the dirt, and then you water it in. And then in 10 days, you get little baby grasses and your patch is fixed. Well, we have to decide if we're going to fix our yard with overseeding, or if we want to just keep attacking weeds. Like Jim, like your backyard sounds like it's done great. It's had a good time. It's about time to party again. So probably we're going to do the pre-emergent route. and we're going to throw down at 70 degrees. We're going to throw down a pre-emergent dithiopyr or a prodiamine. We can throw down either one of those. Generally, you would use the one that you didn't use in the spring. So if you threw down prodiamine in the spring, let's switch over to a dithiopyr right now and put that down at 70 degrees. And what that does is it puts a barrier on your grass that when the crabgrass comes up, it will still grow. It just hits the top of the soil layer and that barrier, and it will die. It will kill it. So it's like throwing in like this weed preventing blanket inside your soil. And I think it's amazing.
I didn't quite understand that. And I used to try to overseed and put down pre-emergent. And of course, you're defeating the purpose, right? I mean, it's also going to block your seeds.
You're not hurting anything. You're just throwing money away. That's the thing with lawn care. It's really hard to hurt your lawn these days. It's just, how can we do it efficiently?
Right.
And so these two paths will tell us what we want to do. A lot of people, Jim, they will throw down prodiamine. They'll spend $100 and put down the pre-emergent. And then they'll go rent an aerator and start poking holes in the lawn. And what you've done is just like a little blanket that you've put out over something you want to keep warm, you just poked holes in your blanket.
Yeah.
So it makes it ineffective. So we really have to plan. Now, I gave you guys a task on the spring show is to create a spiral and track everything. So my hope is that you tracked your water usage, your rain, your mows, your fertilizers, when you put down your weeds. If you walk around in your lawn, what weeds are you seeing? And are you identifying the weeds? I believe that did we not talk about an app last time called Picture This? If we didn't, there's an app.
I don't know if we did we?
There's an app called Picture This.
I don't think we did.
Once again, you take your phone and you take a picture of the weed and it will tell you what it is so you can defeat it. So more tech for you that way. But that spiral, that book is so important because it will humble you, and you can say, my book is honestly, Jim, it's full of, I did this too late. I did this too late. I did this too late.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My region has high humidity. Do you guys have humidity?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
We have high humidity, and central Indiana is a fungus wonderland. So we have a lot of dollar spot. We have a lot of rust and all these yucky. And I totally missed my window. So instead of doing a preventative fungicide, I had to do, double rate as a curative rate,
reactive.
Which it worked. Everything works. It's double. It costs more. And I'm kicking myself. And sometimes it's just, we were on vacation and you come back and it's like, why are these yellow rings in my yard? And why is all my stuff dying? I set my sprinklers to go, So sometimes things happen, just life happens, but you have to take notes and write it in your spiral, even when you screw up.
We talked about this, the Mower App Plus or the Mower Plus app from John Deere, and you can put any mower. You don't have to have a John Deere mower, but this is kind of cool because you can start it. Yeah, you got it.
You have a mowing folder. There you go.
I do have a lawn folder.
You can, which is right, is what you should do. But it'll track your mows and it'll track the GPS on your mows. And
yes, it does.
It'll tell you how long. And I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, it's pretty great. It'll also tell you how much it's rained in your area since your last mow.
Okay, and that's a good thing to know.
Yeah. No, and to your point, I took a little vacation this summer and I came back and my lawn was super thick, and I'm like, I thought I just mowed it. And I checked the app. Nope, it had been 9 days. And I was like, okay, no wonder. Well, I'm not going to want to mow that. I'm not going to put those clippings back on the lawn. There's too many of them. It's too hot. It'll put too much stress on the lawn. So you put your bagger on and you bag those. You don't like to do that. I actually have a flower garden up at the top of my property where those nutrients will leach out and leach back into the lawn. So I don't worry about it too much. But it is one of those things where it just helps with the data, right? And I think with the spiral, or whether you keep track of it in OneNote or whatever, right? it's kind of knowing that. Mike, did you get a spiral started? Did you write anything down this year?
I use OneNote. Yeah, I started using OneNote, and I did that, and I put in there because I'm still using the chemical company that we talked about last time because it's a darn good deal, and I can tell it works because my flower beds have weeds and a lot of weeds. Like we are just plucking so many weeds out of those flower beds. Nothing in the grass. So it's been working. So I've been tracking when they've been coming. I've been trying to put in because they leave us a sheet when they leave and says, here's what we did. Here's all the stuff. Here's some, and they give you like some tips of like water it, this much in the next few days. Keep your dog off this one because this one needs to set in for a day before you let people walk on it. Stuff like that. And so I've been keeping track of that. The biggest one for me is when did I sharpen my blade last? Because I keep forgetting, okay, did I do that in the spring? Did I just do that in the summer? When I did oil changes for my mower, I like to stay on top of that. I do a lot of oil changes on there, probably more than I need to, but I like to do it. All sorts of stuff. You really got me on a kick, and I started tracking everything. I even took it beyond the lawn. I'm tracking furnace filter changes. Everything around the house is now in OneNote, and I love it.
Isn't it nice to go to Lowe's? Stuff. I'm in the middle of Lowe's and I open it up and I'm like, okay, I need 2 20 by 25 by 4s and I need 1 16 by 20 by 4.
Yeah.
Thank God it's in there.
Because no matter how many times you buy filters, you'll always forget the size and you'll second guess yourself when you get there. Yeah.
Always.
100%.
So I love doing that. And so, Jim, coming back to your problem, you come back from vacation and a lot of folks will do this. They have this gorgeous lawn, but it's 9 inches long and laying over. Yeah. It's gorgeous. Yeah. And then they'll mow it. And then the next day they're like, God, why does my lawn look like dog? It's yellow. Well, most folks will stress the crap out of it by mowing it because we still need to observe the 1/3 mowing height. So if you have a high lawn, it's no big deal, but you may have to hit it twice. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to raise to your highest level. You may even have to move wheels, move your mowing deck if you have a rider, and cut off that top just a little bit. Just cut the little bit off and then go a different direction and do it again. Yeah, you're mowing twice, but your lawn's going to be happier because you haven't stressed it so much by, mowing. Most people will mow 2/3 of it off and then leave it laying there. And it's just, you see all those clumps. It's like, wow, I don't know why I do this. I should bag all these clippings. Well, if you mowed it right, you wouldn't have clippings. Laying all over the yard.
Well, that's the key, Dave, right? I mean, if you're mulching and you're starting to see mulch come out, like, okay, it's time to bag. And that's really hard, I think, for some of us because you're like, no, I want to leave it on the lawn. Well, okay, even when you bag, you're still going to leave some of your clippings on the lawn. So don't totally freak out about that. The bag doesn't get 100%. But then find a way to incorporate those clippings back into your yard if you can, like mulch them into something, put them in a bed somewhere. It just depends on what you do. Like I said, I have a little bit, and this sounds weird, but I have like a little bit of a leach field that sits at the top of the yard, and stuff goes up there. And then as it rains, things begin to break down, it can work its way down into the grass. It goes through the landscaping and works its way into the grass. Man, the grass that's up by that area is green all the time. Like it loves the microorganisms and everything that's up there. You've got to decide kind of how to get that done. And so it just kind of depends on the yard that you have. But if you're leaving clippings, throw the bagger on there until you're not. And if you're leaving clippings often, you're probably not mowing enough, right?
Or you're a double sinner like me and you don't mow enough and you bag every time, no matter what. I have never not bagged my lawn. And so it's usually because I've gone too long. And then I end up, because especially I have the rider, and I don't have the mulching kit, so it just shoots it out the side, and then I end up with piles places. So I'm a double sinner, and I'm probably really stressing my lawn out.
Okay, well, just that's in your spiral right now. Fall things I've learned. You need a mulching kit.
Do I need to go to confession too? I feel like I need to go to confession or something.
It's okay, my son. It's your yard will treat you, but you are throwing away free nitrogen. Because you're clipping off that grass that has nutrients in it and you're throwing it away.
Yeah.
Instead of returning it back, and you're your grass needs that. People are so scared of thatch. It's just like this keyword people are so scared of.
Yes.
So they bag and bag and bag and bag. So don't be scared of it.
That's been me. I was kind of raised on the whole like, oh, I've never had to dethatch because I bag every single time and it works really well. And I guess I haven't been bitten by it hard enough to learn my lesson, I think is it. But
you can bag.
Forgive me, Dave. I have sinned. It's been 1 week since I bagged last. Right?
You can bag. It's okay to bag. Like, I mean, you can do it. You're going to end up feeding your lawn more to get the same. Yeah. Like you're it's a trade-off, right? And all these things are trade-offs. I mean, you can water less. You're just during times of stress, your lawn's not going to look as good, right? I mean, so they're just kind of trade-offs in the system. Dave, speaking of watering, as we think about going into the fall, what and things locked up here, so I don't know if you guys can still hear me, but if you can, Dave, in the fall here when it comes to watering.
Yeah, it sounds like the internet is giving us. Maybe it's Jim because I see Mike moving.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm
here.
Yeah, no, it is. I think if you guys can hear me.
I lost
Dave
for a little bit earlier. So
I'm good.
I think Jim's can't hear us anymore.
Are we back?
We've been able to hear you.
Okay, good. So it was definitely me. Some weird things were going on this side, but Dave, as we think about moving into the fall, okay, so summer's over. I made some mistakes. I wrote them down. Maybe I didn't. And we need to do that next year. How can we start over in the fall? I mean, can we kind of make up for some sins of the summer and the spring?
Well, I hate to I hate to break this to you guys and everybody listening, but 2020, there's one good thing. The lawn season for 2020 is pretty much over. Everything we're going to do now is for next year. But fall is one of the most funnest times for the lawn guy because you get to make all kinds of decisions. You get to throw all kinds of stuff down on the lawn, and your lawn will forgive you for all of your summer transgressions against it, Mike.
Yeah, no kidding. So, but I thought you said it's going to spring back a little bit too in the fall, but maybe not if it's been completely dead.
Well, if you like didn't water at all and you have huge fissures in your dirt,
got it. Okay.
Your grass, your crowns probably have died. But grass is very, very forgiving. If it got just a little rain and a little water, it just went dormant. It will bounce back. But we're going to try to time it. And the calendar that I saw from you guys, I'm thinking do some work this weekend, trim it up, edge it, do all the stuff you need to do, and let's start hitting it with water. And let's wake it back up. And
more water than we have been, you mean?
If it sounds like yours is dormant, so we probably haven't done any, I would make sure I did.
I do a ton of water.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure that you're doing deep, infrequent watering. So I wouldn't do 3 days a week, but I would do maybe a couple of deep water. So
I'm 4 days a week.
When that grass wakes back up, we want that water to be in the soil, right? Not on the top. Because if you just run your heads for 10 minutes and then shut them down, all that water's on the top. It's never going to seep down into the soil. So we want to do deep, infrequent watering to wake our soil back up. And that's probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay. Good to know.
And Dave, could we plan that? Okay. I'm going to bring that page back up just because, and this is our area, right? But, we're going to see at least now, September 7th, we start a run of 70s. And so we're not going to lose a lot of, we're not going to lose a lot of the water during the day. If I put that water in on the lawn, if I water it deep, it's going to go in and it's going to sit in the soil. Today, when I water areas, it's so hot by the afternoon, that soil is already dry. Like it goes fast, right? But is it safe to say, like starting on our schedule here, we see 70s here starting Monday the 7th. That may be a good time for Mike to change his watering schedule to go maybe Monday, Thursday, and run those twice as long or maybe 3 times as long as he had before to really let that water settle in, right?
Yeah, and we talked about this in the spring, is we really need to know how much water your sprinkler puts down. Right. You can water it 10 minutes a zone, 30 minutes a zone. I have no idea. You really have to do the tuna can challenge.
I'm down to 8, so it's probably too low no matter what. But
Yeah.
it runs 3, so it does a round of 8, a round of 8, and a round of 8. It runs 3 times in the morning.
That's not bad.
Okay.
You're doing a soak. So you're letting that water not sit on top and run off, but it's 8 minutes. It soaks in, then it does another 8 minutes.
Yeah, because I noticed it was all just running off. If I just let it run for 24 minutes altogether, so it's 8, 8, 8.
Yeah, cycling together. Yeah. Very good. So let's do that. And the biggest thing you can do, Mike, is just take one of those little hand shovels and go jab it into your ground. Pick up a plug of grass and get down 6 inches. What does it look like since it's 6 inches down? And you can do that once a week and just figure out what your yard looks like during the week that I've been watering. Am I effective enough? Am I getting water down low? And the thing, we want to do this right. We want to do that deep, infrequent watering because this grass is about to wake up and it's about to start consuming all that nitrogen that, the guy put out for you, and it wants to grow. And we want to tell its roots to grow down to the water, not up to the water. And it'll be healthier when it comes to the frost. It'll be much healthier when it gets to that. But yeah, it's go time for you guys. We have to decide if we're going to do a pre-emergent weeding or we're going to do an overseeding run. Overseeding and even a pre-emergent run, most of the times in the fall, we do a dethatch, we do an aerate, and then we do our overseeding prep, or we go down the path of the pre-emergent. And we need to know what our soil temperature is in order to start this process. Guys, I open my OneNote probably 10 times a day, and I go over my fall plan. I constantly go over it and over it and over it, and things change. Things have changed for me so much in the last month that I have 2 plans. The backyard, I'm doing an overseed. My front yard, I just decided I'm not going to seed. I'm not going to patch. I'm just going to go pre-emergent. And I've got issues out there that I need to attack, but some things you have to make a decision. What am I going to do, this year? I have like 22,000 square feet of lawn. So I have a lot to take care of. And you have to make these decisions early, because when that soil temperature gets to 70 degrees, you need to have your pre-emergent down. Folks don't understand that the weeds will reactivate in the winter and they will grow up. Now, granted, these weeds, most folks just let grow and the winter will take care of them. That's usually what folks do. But the anal types like myself, I want that beautiful fall lawn. I don't want any crabgrass heads in it. If you do get crabgrass that pops up in the winter, it will seed. The seeds go back down into the soil, and you have to deal with those in the spring. It's just a never-ending cycle. So we like to take care of it when we see it, right? Or before it happens.
So Dave, with that much lawn, are you making the same decision for the entire lawn, or are you saying, this part of the lawn I'm going down this road, and the other part I'm going down the opposite road?
I thought I had a plan this year, and then we had a trampoline. We sold the trampoline. Well, now I have a huge round spot that's dead. And then my neighbor decides to put in a patio. So he's got equipment going over the grass, and he used part of my lawn. So now there's some dead spots there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to overseed that. My front yard, I have yellow nutsedge that's killing me, and I'm trying to attack that. I have creeping bent grass. I live near a golf course. The golf course mowers go back and forth all day long. They drop bent grass, and it gets into your yard, and it starts growing like weeds. It's great for putting greens, but it looks awful in your lawn. So I need to attack that as well. And I decided those little patches of bent grass are just going to stay there. I'm just going to deal with it, because we also have an internet provider, a fiber provider, going to start digging fiber lines in everyone's front yards. And I'm like, anything I do, they're going to tear up. So sometimes you just have to accept what the factors around you give you and just do the best you can. And I'm going to go in my front yard, I'm going to go the pre-emergent round.
Hit your mic again, Dave.
Yeah, sorry.
We go. No,
there we go. No, so we're going to do the pre-emergent in the front yard. So I've been watching temperatures.
So Dave, I think what you're saying, and by the way, I really appreciate this. I think sometimes we think we have to apply one size fits all to every spot in our yard. In other words, hey, I'm going to go buy a system. I'm going to put it on the whole yard. I actually have 3 different yards. I have the front yard, which is 100% full sun, southern facing. It even leans into the south. So it just gets blistered. Zoysia grows great under those conditions, right? All summer, carpet grass, you could sleep on it. It's awesome. Like, it is incredible. Does pretty well with water. Even in this kind of heat, it's still struggling, but it'll come back. The back, bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, grows great, partial shade. Then I've got some real shade stuff, and I actually go to a specialty grass store, and I get a specialty kind of grass that they make just for the shade. And I plant that in that area this year, and it's going to take me a couple years to fix that area. I've also had moles, which have just been devastating on the grass, right?
I've got one too.
Oh my God, dude.
That's why I'm late, Jim. I was fighting the mole.
I know. We'll have to have a whole mole show at some point. But so I have to treat those 3 areas very, very separately, right? And I actually I do different things a little bit different. I do the Scott's program on all of it, but I treat them all a little bit differently. And Mike, I think that's the key, is for you to learn those areas of your yard, right? And be like, hey, I'm going to do this here and that there. To Dave's point, writing that down and knowing it, because you're not going to remember in the spring. Like, you're like, what was I thinking? Like, what was that like? And I think you're on to take some pictures and drop those into OneNote. Like, remind yourself of what those things kind of look like. Dave, you had mentioned, and I want to show this really quick. I think one of the best tools I've ever come across for getting soil samples is one of these little weasel weeder or whatever. They come by, they have a whole bunch of different names, but basically they're great for dandelions. You put them in, you twist them, pull them out, it pulls the weed out. One of the great things, so it's a great weeder, but one of the things it's good at is getting soil samples. So we talked about, like, how deep is the water going, Mike? This would be a good thing for you. How deep is the water going right now? You have no idea. You don't know how deep it's going. This thing will get you down about 4 inches. Go down, spin it, pull it, look at the core, and then you can tell, like, oh, okay, that's how deep the water's going. I've also used these for seeding. So if I have some areas that I just need to spot seed, in other words, I just want to get some seed in there to get some grass growing to kind of fill that area with, go in there, half drop it, spin it, pull it out, throw it. I just carry some seed with me, throw it in there, push the dirt over the top of it, and I'm good to go. And that seed will then grow. And today's, like, grass seed and weed seed aren't any different. At 70 degrees, they germinate. So as soon as we hit that, if I have more seeds in my lawn that are not weed, the grass will overcome the weeds because there's more of them. So I just try to keep seed in my lawn all the time too, to make sure when the conditions are right, it just starts, it's go time.
Yeah. And Mike has a unique situation because he has a lawn care chemical company. So there are things that he can control and control very well. And that is his watering and his mowing and spot treating. I would say you probably can spot treat. Yep. I gave you a link in the private chat, and I also put that link.
Yeah, I have it pulled up here. I might order some of that especially for the beds.
And it's a way to deliver Roundup, basically, via a foaming application very directly. And I like to use this because I will get something that grows like 2 inches from a bush that I want to keep. But if Roundup touches it, it will die. So you use this little foaming applicator, and when the weed has a little V it'll grow up and it has a little V, and you just place a little bit of that foam right there in that plant, and it will die. It will die in 7 to 10 days. And you can take this, and I don't know what you guys call them. I call them stinging nettles. It's those weeds that have the little pricklies on them, and if you touch them, they will burn your hand. And I get those growing in my flower beds all the time. I can throw out 10 pounds of preen, Preen, which is a pre-emergent for mulch and garden areas. I can throw out tons of that, but I'll still get stinging nettles. And all you got to do is just put a little drop on all of those. If you get vines growing up into your rose bushes, again, you just maybe even cut the vine and then drop the foam right. It's just a way to deliver, a weed killer very effectively. It works really well. And so you can control spotting, you can control your water and your mowing. And the cool thing is I would get to know my chemical guy and say, hey, what are we doing this year? I don't think I need to overseed. Do you? Do we want to aerate? Are we going to throw down a pre-emergent? What do you think about? Sounds like you don't have a thatch issue.
Yeah, I don't.
So we may not need to do that, but aerating is always good for a lawn. And what I like to tell folks around here is check your Nextdoor app, your Facebook Marketplace app. And another thing you can do is if you're not a member of Angie's List, create an Angie's List account, go on the website and search for the service that you need done, like aeration. Just search for it, because what we're doing is we're telling Angie what we need, and their marketing engine will start churning. And when somebody comes out, and inevitably all these lawn companies want to aerate your lawn, and you'll find someone who will send out one of those Angie's List coupons, $50 per yard, up to 10,000 square feet or something. So you'll get a deal. You don't have to go to Home Depot and rent the aerator for $120 for 4 hours. The things are so heavy. You have to get a neighbor to help you to make it cost effective, right? And they're work. I mean, I think it's fun, but you literally have to chase that thing because it's so fast. And it's a lot of work. You got to turn it. The turning is killer, and you'll hit a sprinkler head. So just do that. Try the Angie's List hack. Search for it and see if you get a coupon. But otherwise, use Nextdoor and Facebook Marketplace. You can find people that will do aeration for you. And then what I like to do is my fall plan. I'll give you some links later for your fall plan, but you need to make your fall plan. You need to write it down in your spiral. And it is, it's water, mow. But when we start to execute our plan, we need to mow once, and then we need to mow shorter. And then we need to mow our grass almost to the point where it says, don't mow me anymore. Get it as short as you possibly can. And then aerate the crap out of your yard. Just poke holes everywhere. It's the funnest thing ever to do with all those little mud plugs all over your yard. You can throw them at your kids. It's fun. And then you can throw in a fertilizer, or you can throw in your pre-emergent, whichever route you decide to take. If you're going to overseed, then you would throw your seed down. You would throw down some peat or some of the straw, whatever you want to do to cover it. But that's the best way to overseed, is just to start poking holes, and then go to your brown spots, get up all the dead grass, and put some seed down, put some topsoil down. And, in 10 days for fescue, you'll have baby grass. For rye, 10 days. Kentucky bluegrass, probably 21, 28 days of germination. And you keep the soil wet, and you'll have great grass growing. And that's prior to the frost, right?
Right.
So we talked about that frost. We need to know what, 3rd week of October, first frost. Well, those baby grasses, if the baby grasses just come up, they get a first frost, they're going to die. But we want to mow our baby grasses 2 times before first frost. If that baby grass grows up, you mow it, and it grows up again, and you mow it again. you're golden.
Yeah.
When it gets the first frost, it's just grass by that time. It's just like, whatever, we'll go dormant. We'll see you in the spring.
Mike, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah.
No, I was just going to recommend too.
Calendar.
Yeah, well, that, and then for aeration too, if you do have a lawn care company for chemicals, oftentimes they do a really discounted aeration. I think like my lawn care company, for like $40, they'll come out and do your aeration if you use them for all the chemicals all year.
If you get your lawn done for $40, they're either undercharging you or something crazy going on up there in Omaha.
Well, I'm probably paying for it in all the other, I'm paying $60 an application, like eight or nine times a year.
It's 40 or 50. I paid a couple of years ago. I paid $30 to have my yard done.
Yeah, it's not too expensive.
It's not that. Dave.
Yeah. Okay, so that was without a lawn care company though. So that's good to know. So maybe there are even cheaper options out there. That
I think 40 or 50 is going to be what you're going to pay, Mike. Yeah. Just to be honest, and I think it's worth it if you want aerated. To Dave's point, you don't want to go rent the thing unless you got a neighborhood where everybody's going to chip in. Even that's kind of a pain.
I've never even done aeration since I've lived here in 4 years. And it hasn't been terrible. I don't know.
Well, grab a screwdriver. Just grab a big fat screwdriver and go out. And if you stick it in the ground, I mean, you got to go to a couple different places. If you stick it in the ground, it just slides in. You could probably get away. I mean, I think it's a good idea to do it. But if your soil's loose, you don't have to do it.
Okay,
just putting oxygen into the soil. Yeah, that's all you're doing.
Yeah, so it's not about water. It's about kind of how dense you're
just loosening the soil, getting oxygen down into it. And if you do the overseeding route, it's just a very good mechanism in which to get seed into the dirt for seed to soil contact.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. So if it's a good shape, if your soil's loose, if you don't have a lot of thatch, you're probably, aeration also covers a thatch. It's a dethatching. And it starts breaking down that thatch, and then the thatch will naturally start breaking it down because you've broken holes in the layer, right? And so it's a good idea, Mike, to do it. It's always a good idea. You can run behind it. You can also, if you've got one of those landscaping rakes, one of those not terribly expensive, $60, $75, whatever, you can go out and throw that seed and then rake your lawn or drag something over it. Dave, I had a question for you. Okay, so you saw the weather coming up. I've kept my lawn at 3 inches, pretty consistent whole summer. Keep it long, healthy. You just said, okay, start shortening it. Like when, for me, knowing when the frost is coming and seeing if I was going to start shortening that up, do I start shortening it up on the next cut or when do I start shortening it up? Yeah.
Pass.
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't
I have no idea.
Right. No,
your Kentucky bluegrass, however,
yeah.
It wants to be mowed low, but you have to train it. You really do. And that's one of the cool things I love about winter is because I can get it a little lower.
Yeah.
And it just has this little matted look to it. And it's really good. Now, you can't come out of summer and just whack off 2 inches, right?
Right.
You really have to train it. So,
but if I mowed it, let's say I mowed it the regular length, because we still have a couple hot days.
Yes.
Then it's going to start coming down. Every week, if I lowered it 1 notch on the
just
mower,
a little bit, just a little bit. And maybe if you need to check what it looks like after you mow it.
Right.
If you're still growing out dormancy, it's going to look yellow. But after a couple of fall mows, and you've hit it with nitrogen, you want to make sure there's a lot of nitrogen so it's going to grow.
Right.
Yeah, and then you can start getting it cut down.
I'm gonna lay down some fertilizer next weekend so I can begin to kind of get that in there, get it in the soil, and then start reducing that.
Yeah.
And I could, with the cool season grass, I could go into the winter with it short, right? It doesn't need to be long for the winter. Okay.
You want it short. Yeah. So you don't want it laying over and getting snow mold and we don't want to hurt it with fungus or anything.
I think that's a mistake I made in the past is I've just left my mower high into the fall and I've left it too long.
Yeah.
Especially the Zoysia is going to go dormant like mid-October or maybe even November. And then there's nothing you can do wrong after that. It just is brown.
Right.
There's literally nothing you can do wrong. It just stays that way. In fact, here in Nebraska, we have some people who paint it green.
Yeah, I've seen that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. I don't.
Bluegrass is just a wonderful grass. It loves the cool weather. So when it gets 70 degrees and the temperature, the daytime highs drop into the 80s and below, it's just going to take off. So hit it with nitrogen and don't do any slow release. We talked in the spring about this Milorganite, which is a slow release natural fertilizer. You want to get, I know, Jim, you're a big box guy.
Yeah.
So you're going to be fine. Just make sure it doesn't say, slow release, because that makes people happy that they're not going to burn their yard. No, we want to hit it with nitrogen. We want to water it in, and we want that grass to start growing. And you can also do, if you're going to seed, you want to get a starter fertilizer because it will have the NPK numbers that you need for establishing new roots. But a starter fertilizer is always good in the fall anyway, because you're going to tell your grass, hey, we're giving you all these brand new nutrients to, establish deeper roots to be healthier through the winter. So I tell folks, just go anywhere and get a fertilizer. Go to Walmart. If Staples sells it, go buy it, because what they're trying to do is they're clearing it out, Jim. You can get fertilizer at Walmart for cheap, and you don't have to go to the big box store and fall into the trap of a winterizer. And I'm doing air quotes because everybody old school thinks that we need to throw down some winterizer to winterize this lawn. Well, we're not winterizing anything. We're just giving it nitrogen for it to store in late October, maybe for you guys, November. You can even have the dormancy process start, and you can throw down some nitrogen and some cheap big box store nitrogen and let it sit there, and it will use that in the spring, and boy will it use it in the spring.
So that first number is nitrogen, is that right?
Yeah.
In the three number?
Yes.
So I put down there fall turf builder.
Okay.
It's 32, right? The very first number is 30.
Burst of nitrogen. Your grass is going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm going to want to cut it short in that. I'm going to want to get it shorter. Yeah.
Cut it high,
right,
and look at your grass. Right. Make sure your blades are sharp.
Right.
Look at the tops of the grass. If you're still growing out dormancy, if there's still yellow shoots coming up, your grass may have a yellow or a brownish tint. It'll be greenish, brownish tint. You want that. We need to wait for that spring look, that full carpet of green. And then we can start, okay, we'll golf course this thing. Okay. Start cutting it short.
So realistically, Mike, you and I, like our grass is under enormous amounts of stress. So we shouldn't change anything right now. Get some nitrogen in the grass, some kind of treatment. You've got somebody doing that for you, right? And then as we're going to get some rain over the next couple weeks, it looks like it's going to cool down. We're going to get some rain. And both you and I should start then, as soon as that grass looks really good long, cut it twice and start bringing it down each week, right? Until we get that, until we get it lower. I've never done that step, Dave, to be honest.
I haven't either. And I keep
what Mike has, though. So we have to be careful. You want to make sure that it's growing like gangbusters. And this is a step you don't have to do. You guys, I don't want people listening to this to think, oh, I got to get my lawn cut down. I got to get this thing short. You don't have to. Just mow the top third and just mow like normal. And then when dormancy starts right before your first frost, if you think it's time to put this thing to sleep, just mow it twice.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice to have it short before the leaves come, so that it's down. And then when I'm mowing or pulling up leaves, I'm not also trying to mow the lawn at the same time, from that perspective. So that'd be super cool.
Yes. Cool. And there's a couple of resources that I'd like to share with your listeners, because I'm not the end all be all, and I have jumped around like crazy. And I want folks, if they want to overseed, I want them to be successful. There are two guys that they're YouTubers, and they have their own companies. They have their own YouTube channels that they share this stuff all the time. The first one is a guy that who knows how to tear a lawn down and rebuild it. His name is Ryan Knorr, Knorr. Search him on the YouTubes, and he has an overseeding strategy, and he will go over it step by step by step. Now, a lot of the times these YouTubers, they're kind of crazy, so you have to watch out for them. They will actually burn down the entire lawn with glyphosate, with Roundup, and scrape off the dead and re-topsoil and throw down a single cultivar, meaning one type of grass, Kentucky bluegrass or perennial rye, and grow it up brand new in the fall. And they're nuts. I mean, they're absolutely nuts. If I did that to my lawn, my wife would kill me. She's like, "You're killing the grass." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it had clumping fescue in it." She's like, "I don't care. It was green." So you have to be careful. You can't do that, but they will show you how to overseed. The other guy lives in Florida, but he used to work in Indiana, kind of northern Indiana, Chicago area, up over by there. That's the lawn care nut, Alan Hain. This guy worked for Scott's True Green for a decade. He knows what he's talking about when he talks cool season grass. The guy lives in Florida, but he covers cool season grass the most. And if you just get on his email list, he'll send you free guides. Here's how to overseed. Just go. And it'll give you step by step by step by step.
I just watched him last night, Dave. That's
it's
funny.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The guys, the knowledge these guys have. And the more you watch, the more that'll seep into your brain, because I can rattle off chemical names. You're like, what's that weed? Well, that's spurge. Well, what do you need for that? Well, you need some quinclorac right there over by there to kill that one. So, it soaks in. You'll figure it out, and it's fun to watch these guys. I don't like watching them mow. I skip over they try to get all cutesy and GoPro on the mower and just tell me what to put down.
Right.
And
right.
So these guys have taught me a lot. And in fact, tonight, Jim, I was late because I was putting down what I call the double dark. And I've gotten into, I told you in the spring that I like throwing down granulars. I like pushing the spreader. But I've got into the backpack liquid game, right? And there's a couple of products you can buy online. And these guys are going to peddle their wares on their online stuff because they all sell it, right? But they're really good. So you can buy this. It's called a double dark, and it has a lot of iron in it. And your grass is going to love iron, and it has sea kelp and humic acid and all these things. And I've done this a few times before, and you spray this on your grass, and your grass, it's not like a fertilizer, it's a mild fertilizer, but all that iron will make your grass turn like this bluish green. And if you have a neighbor where you have a line, like their grass and your grass, and there's a line, you can get the bluest, greenest grass and the line, and the neighbor's grass looks kind of awful. They call it the domination line. And I really don't get off on making the neighbor cry, but I have a golf course right next to me, and my yard is deep, luscious green, and theirs is limey green. It's real bright, and you can just tell there's a domination line. So I take it personal against the golf course guys.
It's good. It keeps you motivated, right? I mean, you got to compete against somebody for that stuff. And
well, I had to do it tonight, Jim, because we're getting a rain event. That Hurricane Laura is coming up, and so we're going to get some rain events. So I was like, if I don't do it right now, and I can't do it in the heat of the day, right, because it's too hot. You can't apply things during the heat of the day. So I literally had to wait till 7 p.m. and I mixed up 3 4-gallon backpacks full of chemicals, and I did my entire front yard, which is 9,000, 2,000, 1,000, so 12,000 square feet.
Yeah. No, sometimes you just got to get it done. That's one of those things. Mike, this summer, you didn't, but there were moments where I was like, I just got to get a mow in. Dave, back to our spring episode, you were like, sometimes you just need to get the mow in so that you don't get behind. So you're not cutting a half or 2/3, right? And so I took that to heart. And this summer I did better than I've ever done as far as like, it's Wednesday. I don't care what it's like out there.
Right.
I need to get a mow in. And I'd go out and mow, and I'd run. I'd almost run around to get it done fast. I wasn't trying to make it look pretty or put lines down. I was just trying to get the mow done. And that actually paid big dividends for me throughout the summer. So that was really good advice.
This year I tried to take different paths. So I get into, no pun intended, a rut with my mower, and I mow the same spot up and down, and it creates literal ruts in your yard. And if you go the other way and you're like, gosh, what are all these bumps? Well, they're the wheel marks of your riding lawnmower.
Yeah.
So always try to cut opposite and cut angles, slashes across your rectangular lawn.
It's really hard on the edges because you have to mow, you kind of have to mow the edges.
One wheel rut. Yeah.
No, I've got wheel ruts around there. This year, actually, one of the things I did for the wheel ruts is I carried a little bit of seed with me. And as I'd see the ruts, every once in a while, I took a little, little oil funnel, so it comes down a long one about this, just carried with me. And I would punch it into the ground. I'd make about 6 holes, throw a little seed in there, and then you just turn it upside down. And your
seed.
I'm a seed guy.
You are a seed guy.
And because I got some spots like those drive me crazy. And then I'd break up those. Well, there's a couple times this summer I timed those just right. We got some rain, whatever. It was perfect. And man, those ruts grew. They're now fully seeded, right? They're right now, even during the heat, because I kept water on them. They've done pretty well. This fall, they're going to do great. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Well, let's leave your listeners with that. I have guaranteed patch repair success. And you can do it by going to Lowe's, and you can do it so cheap. You don't have to buy the shaker bin. So I do it with, I have a cart that I pull behind my mower. And so we're going to go to Lowe's. We're going to look for, it's a brown bag, and it's probably a lawn repair topsoil. It's about $7 for one of those big bags. It's a bag of dirt, y'all, but it's screened, weedless topsoil. If you go over and get the $2 bag of topsoil, you're buying a bag of crabgrass. So don't do it. This bag is screened. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to buy some seed. We need to make sure we know what kind of lawn grass we have before we buy our seed. Most of y'all are probably fescues, which is great because that stuff germinates in 7 to 10 days. We're going to fix some patches. And then we're also at Lowe's, we're going to buy, there's a bag. You may have to ask someone about this, but it is a pelletized paper cellulose product, and it will hold water. So we've got that. We throw this in our wheelbarrow or our cart or whatever we're going to patch repair with. So I've got this ginormous yellow spot in my front yard where the dog nuked it with 24 hours of holding it. My dog is a freak of nature and will hold urine for days just to kill my grass. And it's literally nuked with all that urea of urine.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get that dead grass out. I'm sorry, y'all, but you're going to have to probably touch it. Most of the time you can rake it, but you need to take it out and throw it away. Just throw it over in the grass. You can mow it in later. Take your rake, the one with the pokey tines, not the loose ones, and scrape. You can do it with Jim's hole poker. You can do it with a garden claw, but you need to break up the soil because we need seed to soil contact. That is the number one thing for seeding. The seed needs to touch the soil or be a 1/4 inch under the soil. And we're going to take care of both of those. So now we don't want clumps. So if you have clumps, just step on it. We've got this big patch of pretty yard dirt. Get a handful of seed, throw it in there. Now, go to that brown bag of lawn repair soil and just crumple it and fill up that patch that you're repairing. Get another handful of seed and throw it on there. And then step on it. Just step on it. So what we usually do is we rent a roller and we roll that seed and we make good seed to soil contact. But you can just step on it and squish it down and then get that cellulose product and sprinkle over it. And then that will hold the moisture, and then get it wet and then keep it wet for 10 days until you see your baby grasses. And then even when you see your baby grasses at 10 days, you still need to keep it wet. So if you can't, I tell this to folks all the time, Dave, I want to overseed. Well, if you do not have a successful watering program, you can't overseed.
Right.
Because it has to stay moist for 10 days. If you seed, Jim, if you grab a cultivar of Kentucky bluegrass to fix in your backyard, 21 days minimum.
Yeah. Most
of the time, 28 days. 28 days until you get a little bit of shoot of baby grass.
You got to stay on top of it.
It's awful, but I mean, Kentucky bluegrass is the bomb. So we do it because we love it.
It looks good.
It does. You got to keep it wet.
Yeah.
So this Patch Master, you can do a whole yard with this, and you can do it for probably less than $20.
Mm-hmm.
Less than $20.
Yeah, get out there and get it down. Just get it down. Mike, your repairs starting Monday. Like, as we look at the calendar, what we can't predict is a late September heat wave. Like this is the hard part. I mean, it's looking good right now, right? The 10-day is looking good right now. We have to be careful. That just means that if you put seed down now, you get a good watering program. You can't let up. If we get a second heat wave, you can't let up. You got to keep it watered. It may still kill it. That's the starting this early, September 1st. That's what you run into. Now, that being said, you could start now and we could have a fabulous fall, and you could be a lawn hero. Because we may get those perfect conditions and everything's fixed.
This is
and
like
you're going,
gambling. Like you really got
it's a little bit.
You got to figure out the right time. Got to make a bet. I'm going to stick with my bet.
Bad. If you get some heat, you just water.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you stay. Yeah,
and you're just going to have to be that dude, in your bathrobe with a stogie, with the lawn, with the hose, and you just hose it down.
That is literally Jim.
Hose it down.
No bathrobe, but definitely out of my shorts and no shoes and
that's some of the most satisfying watering conditions right there. It's just
it's pretty great. I've actually, Dave, I've got some weird areas in my yard where it's just to use sprinklers. It's almost a crime because it's such a waste of water. And so during the summer, because I'm home because of the pandemic, every morning at 6:30, I can go out, have a little breakfast, grab the cup of coffee, go out and I'll hand water it. And man, that area typically struggles because it's a high concrete area. It's a high temp area. And normally it has trouble getting water. I've always struggled to have grass in those areas. This summer, it's lush and green because it gets every other day attention. It gets me watering it by hand. Drink a cup of coffee and water it every morning, not every other morning. Or based on the soil temperatures, I've actually been watering it more because it's been hotter. And so I'm just trying to keep some moisture in the grass just to kind of keep it, alive. So I have turned those watering moments into, one, to be a little more efficient, but two, to kind of be outside, just to kind of be outside watering lawn, enjoying a cup of coffee or cigar.
I walk my lawn constantly.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have yellow nutsedge and I like to go out and curse at it. But I'm always walking the lawn. I know every little detail I need to do, and I'll never get it all done. I know all this stuff, but I at some point you have to decide, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to fix this year. Yeah, and like my yellow nutsedge problem, it's a 3-year battle minimum.
Yep.
It's a 3-year battle because that thing just grows and grows and grows. And Indiana is just covered in Nutsedge. So,
right. Yeah, and I had some kind of weed for the last 5 years that I've been working on just every year. And this was my first year. It's not there.
Not there.
It's just, every year kind of going on. Mike, any other final questions while we got Dave before we wrap this thing up?
I already have. I don't want to ask any questions because that's going to be more things on my list I need to do. I have a lot of homework I need to just go take, which has been great. All the stuff I've been doing has been helping, and I think that the frequency of the mow that's probably just like honestly the easiest thing, but also the hardest thing to like stick to. Right, is like getting out there, because the first week, after a week, you're like, even if I get a few days, and then you don't do it in a few days, and then it's 2 weeks you haven't mowed, and that's been the biggest struggle for me is staying on the mowing schedule.
Dave said something in the spring that freed me up when he said, "You just got to get a mow in. Like, this isn't your premium Saturday mow. This isn't the mow that the neighbors are going to be envious of. You just got to get a mow in." And the way he said that in the spring, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I can just do a Thursday or in my case, a Wednesday.
Do it fast as humanly possible. You don't have the edge. You don't have to weedy.
No.
You should blow, but if it's too dark and you're running into cars, just leave it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, right on it. Dave, that was that freed me up to just get out there like 7:30. 8 o'clock. Okay, I've got 30 minutes to get this mow in. I'm just going to get it in.
It's the most beautiful thing to get you out of all kinds of evening chores. Like maybe I know there's dishes there and I'd love to help you with those, but it is going to rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if I do not get this on the lawn,
right?
Or if we don't cut this, our yard's going to look like crap all weekend.
It's so great. It's so great. Well, Dave, you continue to influence me long after the Home Server Show days. So thanks for jumping in, and first ever 3-part series on lawn maintenance. We'll probably come back again to this next year because it's just tons of fun to kind of talk about and think about. Maybe we'll do a winter. I mean, there's not a lot to do in the winter, but maybe we get together this winter sometime.
You guys can handle it. Just everybody find your frost time and work back.
Yeah.
For most of us, from your time, from your state line down to probably central Indiana, it's go time. You really have to have your plan down. Anything lower than that, Jim, you're getting into transition zone and warm season grasses. They got a lot of time. You guys you got time to figure it out. That doesn't mean you shouldn't plan it, but find your frost date. And Mike, I think you're good. Ask your guy if he's going with what pre-emergent he's putting down, and when is he putting it down.
I'm gonna write that down. Questions to ask him next time he shows up. What pre-emergent are you putting down? Got it.
He'd be like, "Have you been listening to a podcast?" That's what he's gonna say. One of the things, and I know this sounds weird, but it's
podcast. No, it wasn't me.
Nope. As we think about winter, going into winter, you can't overseed in the winter. A lot of people, especially here in the northern climates, you can throw that seed right on top of the snow. And as the snow melts, it will pull that seed down into the soil and make that soil to seed contact. And when those perfect conditions hit in the spring, that seed will germinate. And so it's a great way
Mike talked about gambling. There's your gamble right there.
Yeah, well, you hit the last snow of the year, right? For us, that's going to be March, maybe in early February. And you can just go out with this, you would use the hand crank, right? Just go out there. If you have some areas you particularly want to overseed, throw that right on top of the snow. It's the weirdest thing ever, and it feels like you're just throwing money away. But that snow will pull that seed right into the dirt for you.
Things right now, Jim. I'm just seeing you driving down the driveway to work. You got a cup of coffee here. You're like, you slow down. You roll the window down. You grab from the door and you just start sprinkling seed out of your car.
Seed.
Yep, got it.
I'm a seeding fool, Dave. I am a seeding fool. I love.
After that one note, I added that question in right there, like right in the home, right in the lawn care one. I love having it right here instead of like, Spiral's great too, but everything.
Well, we went a little long, but we appreciate you guys hanging out. Great. Thanks for everybody in the chat room for doing what they do. If you're listening on the podcast side, all those links that Dave mentioned are going to be in the show notes. So head out to theaverageguy.tv/HGG457. HGG457, and you'll get access to those show notes, including those YouTube links. I love the Lawn Nut. I also watch Connor Ward. I think he's the Lawn Rebel, and he's just a nut. Like,
it's amazing. He's great. He'll teach you something, but he's very entertaining.
Yes,
I should say.
Yeah, he's the best. If you're going to watch a lawn guy and you just want to be entertained, because he doesn't care, he doesn't do it right, he doesn't care how he does it. He's just he throws stuff together. He is kind of the average guy lawn guy, I think, right? That's how we all do it. Right?
He knows.
I don't know. We'll mix these things together. I hope it works. He always says he's not a how-to guy, but I love Connor. So Lawn Rebel, if you want to look him up on, I'll try to remember to throw something.
Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, and Ryan Knorr. Yeah. They'll answer anything.
Yeah. No, it's super great. And Connor lives in Idaho, and he's in one of the worst lawn environments ever because his growing season's like 3 months. And so he's got to do, when he does stuff, and then they get heavy snow up there. So they have to deal with snow mold and some of those kinds of things. So
you have to be careful watching those guys, especially Ryan, because they do a single cultivar like perennial ryegrass, and then they'll mow it short, and they're what they call reel mowers, REEL, and they mow it like at 3/4 of an inch, like a
green. Yeah,
which is nuts. I like my grass standing up. I like to be able to run my hand over it.
It looks good though. The other thing we didn't talk about that they talk about all the time is lawn leveling, and that's maybe that's a winter topic.
That's a scary thing for me. I don't
I need for my riding lawnmower. We talked about the ruts. I think I have physical big ruts from my riding lawnmower tires that I might need to
understand. These guys they use sand.
Yeah.
For that real mowing, and they say don't use topsoil, but I can't throw sand in my yard. I'm not
really good. It's really good for the soil, Dave.
My grass
is really good for the soil.
I can't get my grass low enough to do it.
Yeah.
I would do maybe a seed or maybe a soil sand mix.
Yeah,
I can see doing that, and I do need to do that.
Do a soil sand seed mix, and then you get all 3 in one as you're dropping that out there. So just a couple reminders before we go. We're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. If you're just joining us or you're coming in and you haven't listened to it before, join us live. Love to have you come out and be a part of the live show, theaverageguy.tv/live. If you want to join us in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, same thing /Facebook if you want to join us in the Facebook groups. If you want to send me an email, you got some comments, some questions, you can't find something, I made a mistake on the show notes, whatever, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks to Christian for his 10 years of running Home Gadget Geeks as a platform. You can head out to maplegrovepartners.com. He's got hosting plans as little as $10. He now has redundant environments now too. So it's not just one server farm, but 2. It's pretty great. I think one's in Maryland, one's in Buffalo. And so it's great stuff. $10, little as $10 a month, maplegrovepartners.com. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. This is super fun. Dave, thanks for coming. I could geek out about this for a long time and appreciate you coming in and doing it tonight. Next week, Mike Uyghur is covering all things ham radio, or at least what he knows on the ham radio side. So he'll be doing that as well. And then I'm starting to line up kind of the fall episode schedule. So we'll have a lot more coming as well. If you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of a post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. All right. Dave, thanks. That was a ton
of blast.
That's just a ton of fun.
We started
notes down now.
It was like 9:15.
Okay.
So we're at hour 30, which is what we did when you were here in the spring.
Didn't seem like it.
Somehow people listen for an hour 30 to these 90 minutes to them. They do, and it works. Yeah, I like it. I don't care. If I learn, I get super pumped. Like I said, you taught me. Yeah, like you took the pressure off of me in the spring to just be, because I was a once a week Saturday, and I didn't because I couldn't do it the right way on Wednesdays. Right. And when you said that, I was just like, I could just go out on Wednesdays and just.
It's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many super hot nights I've done, and I've been like timing when the sun is going to go down, so I hit the coolest possible moment. And I even did one time. I did it at lunch during the pandemic. I was
that too.
Lunch at work, and I'm like, well, okay, I have no meetings. I think I'm good. I'm gonna sneak out for 45 minutes and get the lawn mowed over lunch. And I came in just sweaty, you're like, okay, turn the fan on and go back to work. And it worked. So
yeah, tonight was hot.
Oh
my
yeah,
God, it was so hot.
Yeah, I think you're just a day behind us on the weather. You'll start cooling off here next week.
We're supposed to get it. Yep.
And you're gonna get Laura. You're gonna get the remnants of Laura. It'll miss us. It's gonna come up. It's got to go deep into Texas for us to get it.
I think it's trying to miss us. I think it's trying to go east, but we're supposed to get just a little rain.
So Dave, we had those. Did you guys get the big storm, the windstorm, 2 weeks ago that came through?
The one that Draco or whatever that crushed Iowa.
A little bit of it, yeah.
Or Joe, I'm trying to share my screen.
Oh,
you have to approve it. But it just snapped my fence posts.
Nice.
That's one of them. And then how do I open it?
I do have a little bit of dry spot right there.
See, I know. Here, now I can.
Yeah, so you can see you're not getting water. Wait, give me that grass back.
1 sec. Here's a better one. The grass.
Thanks for coming out, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, see, you have this grass. When was this taken?
2 weeks ago.
God, see, that's gorgeous.
Oh, I think the backyard where this is at. So this is my backyard, obviously. This front up here where there's not as much shade. The backyard gets a bunch of shade, and I do like it. This is overgrown. I hadn't mowed. This was right before.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, but where it doesn't get shade, it's getting brown. But it's not bad though. There's no weeds. There's no crabgrass. Like it's pretty good. It's just where it doesn't get any shade. It's so brown.
I think your lawn guy helps you.
Oh, he totally does.
Yeah.
I mean, they time it out on their own. Like all the things we've been talking about as chemical wise, they're doing a pretty good job on.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. But yeah, I couldn't believe it just snapped all the fence posts right at the base.
Yeah.
It's like a 70-mile-an-hour gust. Like it was some serious, that one into Iowa just crushed them. Like Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, they got pummeled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They lost tons of corn, and it's not.
Yeah, it really kind of fizzled when it got here. We had some roof damage and some fireplaces, kind of toppled. But
what's coming up on Reset? You got any? You getting back at it?
I'm thinking about doing a few shows, maybe doing some Microsoft stuff. Are we still live?
We're still live. Yeah, there's people listening.
I've got a few things in mind.
A couple.
Few things in mind.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep one a secret.
How are you feeling about CES not happening this year?
I wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
I wasn't going. We threaded the needle. We were in New York for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We were in CES in January, and it's a wonder none of us got COVID. We've all been tested, and I had already decided I've had enough of the CES crud.
Yeah.
And it's so expensive. We love Vegas, but I don't want to do it anymore. And they're going to be virtual, so I'll attend. But
I think there's going to be some great stuff this January because they've had enough time to plan for it. And someone's going to figure out how to dominate on this virtual platform. I mean, it's okay just to stream, but we've been doing that for 10 years or 15 years. I think someone's going to break out with something super cool virtual that will set a new standard for what virtual really means. And,
I hope so. I mean, I was going to miss it regardless because I miss the hustle. I miss the casino walks. I miss, being out there, the food, just staying in a hotel, and everything Vegas. I love that experience, and I love getting out there for a week and just doing my thing, seeing my shows and seeing people and talking to folks. And I'm gonna miss it, but it'll be all right.
Yeah.
See, Jimmy Hawkins.
Jimmy Hawkins.
It is a workout.
Yeah. He says the neighbors shared a rented aerator last year. Holy hell, that was a workout even on our tiny lawn.
Yeah. And I did it a couple of years ago. I rented one, and wow, is it so heavy. It is so heavy. And I hurt for days and days and days after that. And I finally bought one that you stick on the back of your mower, and it doesn't do as good. And it kind of tears, the plugs out. But
I saw one that Connor had one that pushes down.
That's the one you rent.
Yeah.
You can get one that's a roller, but you don't want that one. You want the one that it sticks.
Yeah. Kind of goes in.
Those are not cheap. They're $120 and they're weighted. So they have weights that they slide in on the sides that you have to take the weights out and then lift them up. And
Justin says he's looking to get one for the back of his tractor. Justin, I did in the beginning of the show said you use goats to mow your lawn or something like that. I thought he had said they don't they use goats. Tony, that's another, by the way, that's another
a screenshot of us and tweet it so we can all smile. Say, hey, I'm going to screenshot you in 5, 4, and we'll all smile. I'm always like, I love Tony's
Tony doesn't pick the best one. He just takes one. And there's a whole movement of using goats for forestry. You can see it there's a bunch of YouTube channels on this too of folks to help clean up forests and area, weeds, especially areas that have been overrun by invasives, and the goats will go in and just clean it up and return it kind of to its natural habitat. So that's becoming a bigger deal. I think California's going to have to figure something out.
I'm going to run, guys.
Okay. Actually, hold on, Mike, before you go, I'm going to let everybody go that's listening live. Hey, thanks for coming out. Don't forget, come next week, and it's Mike. It's all Mike. It's all Ham. It's all the time. We'll see you guys. Take care.